Hey, what is up, everybody? Blitz for here and for you another video of BlackClover Mobile. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about the top 5 units that you guys should be trying to build who are SRs here. Now, these top 5 were kind of hard to at least whittle down. I was originally going to do top 10 or top 8, and I said, you know what, let's do a top 5 one because when I was recording, it was nearly taking me about 30 minutes to explain different things with the units and pretty much why they have their top positions. So we're gonna of course be explaining all that, so you guys better sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. I gotta say, thank you all for all the support recently. It's been absolutely amazing. For those who came to the stream yesterday, I am so sorry for all the technical difficulties. We had a lot of issues. Hopefully today that doesn't happen, and to make up for missing at least a video yesterday, I will be doing a double upload today, so look forward to that. But let's go ahead and dive straight into it. Now, coming down to our 5th position of a SR that you would like to be building immediately and as fast as possible, this would end up being Redasta. Now, Redasta is fairly useful. I actually ended up building him kind of recently, or at least starting to use him a little bit more recently. And the main reason why I say that you want to build him is because for the at least power side of things, or at least the red units, there wasn't really a defender until Veto recently came out. So as the game pretty much first comes out for Global Wars, as you're going to be starting JP and KR, you may not have Beto, you may not be able to get him, or you may just not want him, so instead get a different substitution. Now this character of course really does come in handy when you're doing different red things here. Of course, most of the at least green stages that you can use red units with, you can overpower, which is one of the reasons why you don't really need a defender too much, especially seeing that different dungeons have been nerfed, but he does come in handy. This unit is absolutely actually a really good defender. In fact, he has a couple things in his kit that was pretty dang decent as well. Now he does come in handy for PvP as well, so I will get into that as later on. But for his skill 1, this man can remove 3 debuffs off of himself, and for every debuff he can apply 30% of increased damage buff for 2 turns. Now, this is already one of the things that I find is kind of interesting here, because a lot of the mobs do kind of debuff you, or either they will at least do some things with you when it does come to this. So his skill 1 can be fairly useful. It does have sometimes at least a useful moment, but it is what it is. But his other better ones are usually his skill 2 and his skill 3. The skill 3, at least his skill 2, if an enemy is under an incapacitate at least effect here, he has a 30% chance to stun, as well as a 30% chance to dispel debuffs. And pretty much when you use the skill, the more that you level it up, the debuff chance goes up as well, which is pretty decent here. So being able to actually have stuns in the kit and also be able to dispel debuffs or dispel buffs is actually pretty dang nice to actually have this for Redasta himself. It keeps you at least pretty solid when it comes down to fighting certain mobs, and so I definitely would say that that would be very useful in the long run. As for the skill 3 here, he ends up doing damage to every last enemy on here, and this is probably one of his most broken things that he does have here, and that is when he uses his ultimate here, he actually goes into a defense state. This defense state gives him pretty much a crazy amount of damage reduction, which is for like 50% if I'm right, and which is for 2 turns for himself, in which he also has a chance to at least go for 40% for a taunt for 1 turn. Now as you level this up, the skill attack goes up, which is meh, we don't really care about that, but what we do care about is the taunt here. So pretty much he's a bootleg kind of Mars unit, if you want to call it like this, especially when it comes down to at least surviving. So this character is definitely really good to get it built very early on, seeing everything he has in his kit. Alongside that, we get him very early inside of the actual inside of the game, seeing he is the main character. Why not build him and actually use him for different little PvE things? Constantly I'm still using him when it does come down to different things, so it's one of the reasons why I feel like he has a staple inside of the 5th position. And not to mention that he also has at least a passive that increases HP recovery received by 8%. So if you are running a healer with him, it's pretty good to actually use this man. And if you guys are wondering, a decent healer with him as well that could be possibly used, Teresia or either Mimosa would very well work out in the favor here. But that's it for Mr. Asa here. Definitely say he has that 5th position locked down, and we're gonna go ahead and go into the next character here. Your 4th, or at least your 4th character here that you most likely will be wanting to build is definitely going to be, I would like to say, Now, here pretty much is very interesting. He's probably one of the first characters I ended up building because of how early I ended up having him. Of course, from the story, is very, very helpful. This character is probably one of the only green attack sense characters that was pretty much out before like Raya and Licht, of course. So he really had his position. Now, of course, you did have Fugo. You did have what is his name? Okay, no, he's a supporter, so never mind. But yeah, of course you did have Fugo, but it was more like if you're playing with SRs and you're trying to be a little bit free to play side, you're trying to conserve certain currencies and stuff like that, was your way to go. Main reason with this character is because he has a lot in his kit. Actually, you see I still haven't built, I actually didn't take that off yet, but he has a lot in his kit here. His kit can actually do a couple additional attacks, which additional attacks are pretty dang strong in this game, especially depending if you have the character built right, in which they use 35% of his attack and M attack whenever he defeats at least an enemy, in which that will deal another attack to everybody. Now, if he actually not only defeats and also crits, he does another 35% of attack and M attack to all enemies, which is in this additional as well. Every time you at least upgrade this, both of those stats will end up going up. So it can be actually pretty powerful when you think about it. Plus, this is his skill 1, so it's already a powerful skill to have. Now, skill 2 is pretty interesting here because with the page, which is fairly easy to get, as well as without the page, it's really good no matter what. So without the page here, you end up getting yourself a 60% chance of applying death reduction here to an enemy for 2 turns, which is pretty interesting. But if you actually have the card, attacks after applying the reduced death to an enemy is actually interesting as well here. Yeah, you actually get to attack with that after you have that reduced defense, which is really nice to at least be able to follow up on that. And that's 50% extra defense that's pretty much lowered, which is absolutely amazing with this character. Now, his other thing that he has here is an incapacitate on his ultimate, which actually makes him a little bit more useful, seeing that it's at least level 2. Sure, if it would have been a little bit higher, it would be even better, but that 40% chance does still come in handy, and at least he will be very useful for at least the early game until you guys find at least like Raya or Licht later on to replace him. So this character definitely keeps his spot inside of the 4th selection here. With his passive, he applies an increased damage done when attacking supporters, which is pretty nice for PvP. And actually, you could run him in both, to be honest, if you wanted to. His United skills are also pretty good with speed reduction and incapacitate. But when it comes to this character, he's definitely a solid 4 on my list. Definitely, since you get him so early, you get him very often, so getting his LR passive and stuff like that will be fairly easy, as well as his card. So I would definitely like to say this character keeps his spot in 4th place, but you guys let me know what you think about that as well down below. Now, going to our 3rd character here, we're going to be having our top 3. Top 3, I have to say, would end up being Soul. And the reason why I'm saying Soul over Charmy, because Charmy is going to be our 2 here. But Soul is pretty dang interesting, right? You're gonna definitely need her when it does come down to farming if you don't have Mars. And when I say farming if you don't have Mars, I mean she plays a giant piece in the puzzle here. This character is pretty much Mars, just like SR, and she's absolutely amazing. She has taunts to boot, she has a lot of things in her kit, and actually is one of the characters I want to build just to show off. Not only with the taunts that she also has attack reduction and freaking magic attack reduction as well. Now, this is something that's kind of crazy. She can dispel enemies' barriers as well. She can do pretty much all of it. Okay, anything that pretty much Mars can do, she's pretty much the SR version of him. So this character already proves her worth, seeing that she has a lot of things in her kit that can make a lot of things easier. The reason that she really secured this spot for at least number 3 is mainly because of how much she has in her utilities, where it comes down to different skills, stuff like that, as well as her passive. When attacked by an enemy under the taunt state, she can inflict 5% damage reduction debuff for 2 turns. Now, what makes this even better is if you are farming with Charlotte, in which Charlotte does actually go on a lot of different teams. You can actually mix match instead of running mono with her. So if you are farming with Charlotte, she also can apply a reduced all attack level 1 to the enemy for 2 turns, which actually is pretty dang good, seeing everything that she does have inside of her kit as well. So having that fate at least bond as well is kind of nice in order to actually see, what exactly you want to do with the character itself, and pretty much like go ahead and keep playing with her and have a decent time at keeping up inside of the PvE scene. Now this character is pretty good inside of the PvE, but it's more like a meh. You really want to be using her. I mean, no, not PvE, PvP. But PvE wise is where she shines the most. PvP is kind of iffy, but like you could possibly still use her. And this is our character who takes the 3rd place spot. And now we're going to go into the person who takes 2nd. Now, before we go into the 2nd place spot here, I want to have some honorable mentions before we go into 1st and 2nd here. And this was pretty much having, we had Mimosa, SR Mimosa coming in with one of the actual honorable mentions here. She is a absolutely stellar healer with a lot of other things in her kit that can pretty much heal just as good as the SSR version. But we ended up going away from this character here, but she definitely does have a lot of good things in her kit. We also have Noelle, who's really good here, which I'm actually currently building. She's pretty dang decent. She has barriers, everything to go with everything that she needs here. Being a decent supporter, she's absolutely amazing. Ended up being on the honorable mentions list. We then also have Vanessa. Vanessa was another good supporter here that's kind of good for both PvE and PvP, but she was one of the few that ended up getting the short-handed stick, and I think it was mainly because of her skill 2 that was a little bit lacking because of her probability of at least dispelling DOTs, which felt kind of useless in her kit. Alright, so those are our at least honorable mentions here, but we're going to get ahead and go to our 2nd person here, and this is going to be Charmy. Now, Charmy has been a MVP. Okay, she was slept on very, very hard at first, and now she has become a major MVP to at least the PvE scene here. She pretty much heals just like a Mimosa does and stuff like that, but she also can heal off additional attacks as well for the whole team. Now, her regular heal with her skill 1 is pretty strong here, dealing about 120% of magic attack to the ally, which is pretty dang decent, especially when you're trying to heal everyone, or at least heal your ally once. And this is at level 1 too. So level 1, she's having a 120% of magic attack heals worth here, which is kind of nice. And as you level this up, you get yourself HP recovery percentages, which makes it even better. Now with this, of course, her additional attacks will heal everybody by 60% of attack and M attack here. So that's actually kind of nice. With her 2nd skill, of course, she can have a chance of applying an increased special point to the ally that she does heal with a 240% of magic attack as well. As you level this up, you get yourself half and half of HP recovery and SP, which definitely does make it a little bit more worth it. Now, the only thing I gotta say that was kind of iffy with her kit was definitely her ultimate, because the spelling buff on the enemies is kind of iffy with this. And the main reason I say this is because a lot of enemies, they don't either get to live for the debuffs, these spells here, or at least the spell buffs here, or either they just don't have one when it comes to the farming scene. I think the only time I see really mobs be able to buff themselves or have buffs on them is usually when you're doing the event side of things, for most of the event dungeons, in which, for example, we have at least one of the ice ones, in which once you get them down to full, or at least down to no health here, they put themselves an immortality buff on, in which that's where it will come in kind of handy. But other than that, you don't really see it too often. With her combined attack, of course, she makes herself even more useful, increasing M attack level 4 to at least a partner, which is fairly interesting as well, and have a 40% chance of increased special points to a partner. Found this to be very good inside of her kit, especially seeing every time you level it, the chance goes up, and then on the 5th time, you actually could possibly get 2 special points instead. So this character definitely keeps her way inside of the 2nd position state. I'm still using her when it comes to at least blue gear farming, or either blue talents and blue stone farming here. She definitely holds a major staple, and I think a lot of people in the community are now starting to use her a lot more. But we're gonna get to our last character. Now, right before we get into the last character, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You guys already know I'll be trying to keep up on our daily uploads. Once again, I am sorry about yesterday, but you guys are going to be getting 2 uploads today. So, still look forward to it. But I'm pretty sure you all know who's number 1. We all know him very well. The man has came out the woodworks and has ruled PvP and PvE scene here, and that is our guy Finroll. Now Finroll does it all. Like, I'm just gonna abbreviate everything with him. This man increases speed, attack, damage, everything. He can even dispel buffs from allies, increase crit rate, you name it, even increasing stamina. He had absolutely everything on the spectrum. This character is one of the best units, even between some of the SSRs out here. He's still an absolute just menace. For having his card, he makes himself even more of a little bit of a scarier target here, being able to increase stamina to all allies if you by a 60% chance. And so this man can do a lot in his kit, and it definitely has stabilized his position in first. I think no one would probably argue with that, seeing how good he really is. It's kind of crazy to think that a SR character could be this good inside the meta scene. Now for this character, of course, he also has crit rate level 3 for his special skill, and this is a 50% chance. So of course, having a good DPSer with this character being able to boost your crit rate is kind of freaking crack. So I gotta say, this character definitely takes the cake when it comes to number 1. He also has a united attack with Redasta, which is pretty decent with having a DOT immunity and increased stamina by 20%. But he also has a decent bit of on his passive too, which applies 5% reduced unfavored damage taken. So if there is a enemy who is a different different attribute to him, they actually do a little bit less damage, which is kind of nice to actually see. But this character without a doubt takes number 1. I don't think anyone will deny me of that, but he definitely takes number 1, and I think he'll proceed to stay here until we see something better in the future. Now this will be, of course, a series that I will be doing between SRs, maybe Rs, and also SSRs here, so look forward to seeing that. And then we're gonna add on to it for top 10s and stuff like that in the future when we get more units. So till then, everybody, I'll talk to you later. Be sure to stay safe, stay sharp, and stay determined, and peace out.